All right, we're back for more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel here for Monday, February 3rd. Yesterday, a good day, a 3-2 day, so a positive day. Could have been a lot better, but a positive day nonetheless. Looking for more positive days going forward as we've been heating up over the last couple days here on the channel. And folks, before we get into the 5 best bets for college basketball here on Monday, February 3rd, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Again, we're doing this all the way through March Madness, and also make sure to join us daily for our NBA predictions as well. We've got 10 games today in the National Basketball Association, so make sure to check out that video in a couple hours here on the channel. And also last night we posted our UFC 312 predictions with the main event being for the middleweight championship this Saturday between Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland. It is the rematch for the world championship. Also in the co-main event, Tatiana Suarez challenges for the world championship at 115 pounds against Zhang Wei Li. All right, on to the first of our 5 best bets for today. We will kick things off in the SWAC. Now, the SWAC hasn't been the kindest to us. Now, the last SWAC game we did predict, we got it right, obviously. We picked Mississippi Valley State to cover the 12.5 points on the road at Arkansas Pine Bluff, and they ended up winning the game outright on the road. Now we like another underdog here in the SWAC, and we're taking Florida A&M. Give me the Rattlers at home against Alabama State. We have not spoken at all this year about the Rattlers, and this is the perfect time to do so. Guys, Florida A&M, surprisingly a 5-3 team in the SWAC, a team that I kind of just disregarded early in SWAC play because they were 0-3. They lose to Bethune-Cookman at home. They go to Southern, they lose. They go to Grambling and lose, but they've won 5 games straight since then, beating Arkansas Pine Bluff at home, beating Mississippi Valley State. I understand those are the worst 2 teams in the SWAC, but then back-to-back road victories where they win a game on the road by 1 point against Alcorn State. They go to Jackson State and win as well, and then most recently a 16-point home victory over Alabama State. Those are impressive performance for the Rattlers, a team that, again, really struggled at the gates this season, but they've got 2 guys who have been able to be really effective scoring the basketball this season. That, of course, is Sterling Young and Milton Matthews. Young is a guy who averages 15.5 points a game for the Rattlers, but, I mean, this is a guy who's more than capable of putting big-time numbers up, put 37 up in that victory against Arkansas Pine Bluff and 23 in their last result, obviously, against Alabama A&M. This is a transfer from the Charlotte 49ers, and he has become the guy now here at Florida A&M. And you also get Milton Matthews, another senior on this team for Florida A&M, a guy who played at North Carolina A&T a couple seasons ago, came on over here to Florida A&M, averaging 13 points a game. He put up 25 in the Alabama A&M victory, and again, this is a guy who's going to give you more than 15 every single night. He put up 23 in the victory over the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley State. Other than these 2 guards, they are a little bit weak, but you get Jordan Chapman, who averages 8.5. You're going to get Shakir O'Neal, who averages 8.5 points a game as well for Florida A&M. Obviously, Shakir O'Neal is the son of Shaquille O'Neal. Shakir is the second, I believe, because it's just Sharif than him, right? Sharif doesn't play basketball no more, right? I believe Shakir is the second. If I'm not mistaken, Shakir is the second son of Shaq. I could be completely missing, but I'm missing one, but I think Shakir's after Sharif. Anyways, Shakir's been all right for Florida A&M. I mean, he's a junior now. Shakir is a guy who was at Texas Southern his first 2 seasons, really didn't play, but has come on over now to Florida A&M, and he's played big-time minutes for this team at the 4 and sometimes at the 5 for Florida A&M. So all around, not a horrible Rattlers team. And on paper, and honestly, just watching both these teams recently and looking into both these squads, I do think the Rattlers are better than Alabama State. That's why I'm a little bit surprised the Rattlers are underdogs in this game. Alabama State coming off back-to-back losses to good teams, right? I mean, Texas Southern, one of the better teams in the SWAC, obviously second best behind Southern, who is playing today as well. Decided to stay away from that Southern game. I think they're going to win. I don't know if they can cover 7.5 points at home, though. Then Alabama State's last game, losing to Bethune-Cookman on the road. Again, no shame in that, but this is a team that has lost back-to-back basketball games. They are 4-4 in SWAC play this season, kicking off SWAC play by beating, again, the 2 bottom feeders in Mississippi Valley State and Arkansas Pine Bluff. They went to Jackson State and lost. They go to Alcorn State and lose. They go to Alabama A&M and win. Win at home against Prairie View, and then back-to-back again losses to Texas Southern and to Bethune-Cookman. For Alabama State, they are led by C.J. Hines. He's a guard who's going to be averaging 15 points a game. Amar Knox averages 14 as well, along with TJ Maddox, who's going to be averaging 11. But I do think Florida A&M's the slightly better team. I'm surprised, again, they are underdogs in this spot. You got to think about both these squads in the SWAC right now. Who is playing the hotter basketball? It's Florida A&M. Again, regardless of how the Hornets looked earlier on in the season, they are coming off back-to-back losses. They're still on the road, and Florida A&M, again, has won 5 in a row. After starting SWAC play 0-3, they figured it out, and they have won 5 consecutive ball games, whether it be the the scoring outbursts from guys like Sterling Young, Milton Matthews. I mean, one of those two guys are usually going to give you 20, 25 plus on a nightly basis. Florida A&M's been able to score in the SWAC, and I think they're going to be fine in the spot here. Alabama State, again, not a horrible team, but I just think Florida A&M's been playing the better ball recently. And on top of that, again, this game is being played in Tallahassee, obviously the home of the Rattlers. So I am surprised that Alabama State is a 2.5-point favorite and that we're getting 2.5 points here at home with the Rattlers. I don't mind either spot here. You can take plus 2.5 for the Rattlers. You can take the money line for them as well. I mean, yesterday we had a spot early in the day where we had Robert Morris, and if you took the spread on Robert Morris, it was plus 2.5. You won. It was a game that Robert Morris, the Colonials, were, up for most of the basketball game. They ended up losing the game by 2 points, but if you took the money line, obviously you lost. But we said, again, money line or spread. Again, the conservative play is always taking the spread, the aggressive play obviously taking the money line. But in that spot, obviously yesterday we cashed with the Colonials only losing the game by 2 points instead of obviously the money line. But I think the Rattlers win the game outright. Again, always if you want to take the spread, plus 2.5 is right there for Florida A&M. Again, it worked yesterday with Robert Morris. I think the Rattlers get things done regardless of the spread and the money line. I like both. So give me Florida A&M to win at home here in SWAC play against the Alabama State Hornets. Let's move on to our second game of the day as we go to some very low-level basketball. Guys, I'm just going to be honest, it's slim pickings today. It just is. There aren't many games to choose from here with this Monday slate. I'm going to be honest with you. Mondays and Fridays and Sundays sometimes are usually kind of weak. Now, the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and obviously Saturday where we do 10 best bets a day, those are loaded. Mondays and Fridays and sometimes Sundays are difficult, but it doesn't mean we can't cash. There's still value in this spot. It's just that, we're picking a game between Coppin State and Maryland Eastern Shore. Give me the Coppin State Eagles. Yep, we're taking the 3-18 Coppin State Eagles. And there is some logic behind this. First off, they're underdogs, okay? Regardless of who wins the basketball game. There is a chance, and a very good chance, the winner of this game does not win it by 5 points or more. So right off the bat, we can get a loser in this game and still cash. Bonus. On top of that, am I crazy to say Coppin State's been the better basketball team this season? I don't think so, honestly. Maryland Eastern Shore is 4-17. Sure, they have a better record than the 3-17 Eagles, but Maryland Eastern Shore has not beat a Division I basketball team all year long. They've beat nothing but NIAAs and D2s. Their wins are Penn State Schule, I don't know what the hell that is, I'll be honest with you, Gallaudet, Bryn Athrin, and Cairn University. They don't have a win over a Division I basketball team. Now, they played some teams really tight to start the year. They went to UPenn, only lost the game by 1 point. They go to Old Dominion and only lose by 2. But recently, they have not come close in any of their games. They just haven't. Again, I don't think the MEAC is as bad as the SWAC, if I'm being honest with you, just because, honestly, of Norfolk State. Like, Norfolk State is head and shoulders better than all these other teams. I think they play Howard today? They do? No, they don't play Howard. They play North Carolina Central. I thought about going Norfolk minus 9.5, but that might be too much for them. Staying away from that. But again, Brian Moore is the best player in the MEAC, and Norfolk State's the best player in the best team in the MEAC this season. They're the reason why the MEAC's better than the SWAC. The bottom of the MEAC isn't much better than the bottom of the SWAC, but in all fairness, I do think both these two teams beat Arkansas Pine Bluff, who obviously is the bottom feeder in the SWAC conference this season. But we're talking about this game specifically. I don't think Coppin State is as bad as Maryland Eastern Shore. This is a team who actually does have wins over Division I basketball teams this season. Surprisingly, they have 2 of them. They've got a win at home against Navy on December 21st, and then on January 4th, they hosted North Carolina Central, and they beat NC Central by 2 points. Now, they have not won a game on the road this entire season. I understand that. At the same time, Maryland Eastern Shore has not beat a team at home this season who plays Division I basketball, nor have they beat any team who plays Division I basketball. So that logic gets thrown out the window. My point being with Coppin State, is that they play tighter basketball, kind of, sometimes. They played South Carolina State, only lost that game by 8 points. Again, they have 2 victories. They went to Raleigh, only lost by 10 to NC State. They go to Wagner, only lose by 3. I get they're not great either, but this team has played competitive basketball more recently than Maryland Eastern Shore, especially against D1 teams. And for the Eagles, this is going to be a team led by Toby Naduzi, who is averaging 12 points a game. Their leading scorer statistically is Darius Ward, but Ward, who was averaging 12 points a game prior to his injury, has been out since the UMBC game on November 14th for the Eagles. So again, in his absence, it's been Toby, it's been Jonathan Dunn, who averages 10.5, and Julius Earlbay, the third, who averages 10 points a night as well. You look at what the Hawks have. Maryland Eastern Shore is led by Katron Shaw, who's by far their best guy. He plays 35 minutes a night. He's going to score you 18.5 a night as well. Evan Johnson's going to give you 12. The problem with Maryland Eastern Shore, they get no production out their bench. Their bench doesn't do anything. So that's why Shaw plays most of the basketball game for them, because they get no production out that second unit. Again, it's one thing for Maryland Eastern Shore to straight up win the basketball game, because again, they haven't been able to do that all year long. It's a whole nother thing, though, for being honest, for them to, for them to actually win by 5 points. Guys, there are different levels to this. Maryland Eastern Shore has to get over the hump of actually beating a team in the MEAC, beating a team who plays Division I basketball, and then on top of that, we're saying, oh, they're going to win a game by more than 4 points? I don't think so. I don't think both those things are going to happen. Can the Hawks, right? Can the Hawks of Maryland Eastern Shore win the basketball game? Sure, potentially, because, the Eagles aren't that great either, but can they win the game by more than 5? I'm going to say no. I think Coppin State, I think they keep this game competitive, and I think the Eagles go on the road and cover the 4.5 points. They have more than a good chance to go on the road and win the basketball game, but I say make it easy on yourself, bet the 4.5, you get that insurance with Coppin State in this basketball game, so you're not, watching on the edge of your seat to see if Coppin State can steal a huge road victory in the MEAC conference over Maryland Eastern Shore, okay? Give me Coppin State. They're the team that's actually won a game against a D1 team, multiple D1 teams this season, and they actually have a win in MEAC play this year as well. Give me Coppin State. Give me the Eagles on the road against Maryland Eastern Shore. This is just the MEAC's version of what the SWAC put on Saturday between Mississippi Valley State and Arkansas Pine Bluff. To our next game. I swear we're going to get to some bigger games, and here's the big game of the day in the Big 12. We have the Kansas Jayhawks hosting the Iowa State Cyclones. A big game, right? Because Iowa State at one point, was regarded as the number 2 team in the country. They are still ranked 3rd. Obviously, the next rankings that come out, Iowa State will definitely not be 3rd because they have lost back-to-back games in the form of a loss on the road to Arizona. Obviously, that was something. Caleb Love with the half-court shot to send the game into overtime, and obviously the Wildcats take care of business, obviously in that OT period. But the game that's really concerning for Iowa State is the loss at home to K-State. Kansas State comes into Iowa and beats that team by 19 points. That's disgusting. That's horrible. That was on Saturday. Now you got to regroup in 2 days' time, which is today, obviously. Get on the road, go to Lawrence, Kansas, and take on the Jayhawks, who have not been playing phenomenal basketball this season. They haven't, right? They're coming off of a game against the Baylor Bears where they blew their biggest lead in, I believe, school history, eventually losing that game by 11 to the Baylor Bears. I get that. Kansas has not been that great this year. They're 6-4 in conference, right? Losses to WVU, lost to Iowa State on the road, but again, different circumstances this time. A loss at home to Houston in double overtime where they completely choked one away, and then obviously that game to Baylor on the road in Waco. But it's still Kansas, guys. It's still Kansas, and it's still Kansas at home. Kansas has lost one game this season against... I forgot the West Virginia game happened. The West Virginia game is just ridiculous. Regardless, they've played decent basketball at home all year long. The easiest way to get Kansas is obviously on the road in Waco, obviously. When they went to Missouri and lost, they went to Creighton and lost. But Kansas, I don't think they're still that bad. They're not elite. They're not a top 10 team. I think they're borderline. They should be top 20, I think. Obviously, you get Hunter Dickinson, who's at the point where he's getting on Trey Galloway levels. It's just dude, get a job at this point. Or just, make a run for the NBA and become a second-round pick. That's kind of where I'm at with Hunter Dickinson at this point. Good basketball player, but he's just been around for so long, and he's been consistently good in college basketball for so long. But again, this is his senior year. He's trying to bring one back to Lawrence, I guess. Zeke Mayo, obviously the former South Dakota State Jackrabbit, has been good for the Jayhawks as well this season. You look at DeJuan Harris, who's averaging 10. And then there's AJ Storr, who transferred here and has done absolutely nothing this season. He averages 6 points a game. Why he left Wisconsin to do this, I don't know. But he's been very disappointing for the Jayhawks. But here's the thing. Again, Kansas has talent. I know Iowa State's got talent as well, but Iowa State coming off back-to-back losses and just an abysmal performance they put up in their last game at home. It was disgusting. 61 points at home against K-State. Very competitive first half. Second half, they got blown out the water. They got outscored by 17 points in that second half against a team that was a plus 14.5 dog on the road and a team that was a plus 900 underdog on the road as well. Not ideal out of a team that's supposed to be a lead in Iowa State. But sometimes, man, games like the one against Arizona, that just deflates a team. It deflates a team and you don't know how to respond. Again, that team was a free throw away from winning the game. They had 2 free throws at the end of the game, up by 2 points, just had to sink both of those. Then the Caleb Love, near full court, mid court shot, half court shot, whatever, doesn't matter anymore because you're up by 4. You miss a free throw, Caleb Love, sinks one from midcourt. Obviously, we lose on Iowa State, ridiculous, and they don't cover the spread either. But that deflates a team. And you just played 2 nights ago. You looked horrible against K-State. Now you got to turn it around on the road, national television. You're still playing the Kansas Jayhawks. Don't care what version of Kansas it is. Still a top 20 team in the country. You're still playing Hunter Dickinson and the guys. This is still a good Kansas team when they're at home. On national television, I don't like it for Iowa State. I just don't. If they went to Arizona and lost in a game where they couldn't score for, what are they going, Arizona went on a 13, I think it was it's like a 17-0 run at the end of the first half, or middle of the first half. There were points in that game. Obviously, there was one point in that game where Iowa State didn't score for 8 minutes. If they're having that much trouble on the road to Arizona, now you got to go to Kansas, I don't know. Again, it was a different game when the game's in Iowa, but now you're going to Kansas and you've lost 2 in a row after that deflating season, potentially altering loss to Arizona. Obviously, again, Iowa State's still making the tournament. Unless they lose out, which they're not going to because they have Colorado and Cincinnati on the schedule. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament. It's just a matter of the momentum is absolutely killed for this team. A team at one point, guys, they were 15-1 before they went into Morgantown, West Virginia, with their only loss being Auburn by 2 points. Since going to Morgantown, they are 2-3, with their wins being UCF and ASU, who are not that great, and their losses are WVU, Arizona, and K-State. Give me the Kansas Jayhawks to win the game at home. They are favorites to get this one done. I expect them to cover the 2.5 points and beat the Iowa State Cyclones in the process. Let's move on to our 4th best bet of the video as we now head to the American. As we have North Texas going on the road to the University of Alabama, Birmingham, a very good game in the American Conference right now. The 2, second best teams, obviously behind the Memphis Tigers, and we're taking UAB at home. This is a good game, it really is. I'm concerned about North Texas because of their scoring. They have a lot of games. Well, recently they've had games where they just haven't put up great outputs in terms of scoring the basketball. I mean, they go to Wichita, Kansas and put up 58 points. They still win the game against that lowly Shockers team who have been very disappointing in conference play this season. And in the last game, they get a home game against Texas San Antonio, and the Roadrunners go to North Texas and beat them. Yeah, the UTSA team that was 3-5 in conference prior to that one, they're still under 500, a confusing loss. So now 2 of them in the American Conference for North Texas, the other one obviously being Memphis on the road earlier in the season. And I get it, North Texas beat UAB in the first matchup, but they beat the Blazers by 3 points. It was a competitive basketball game, and right now UAB's the hotter basketball team. UAB's only 2 losses are North Texas and Memphis, obviously, on the road. What have they done since the Memphis loss? 2 back-to-back victories on the road at Tulsa and beating Charlotte by 18 points. I get it, Charlotte's not very good, but honestly, going to Tulsa, I know it's not that difficult this season, but a good victory for UAB on the road there. They've shown they can win big-time basketball games this year in the American Conference. A win on the road at Florida Atlantic, I still think is pretty big. A win on the road against South Florida, that'll play. A Tulane win at home. Like, UAB has stepped up to the occasion this year in conference play after a pretty miserable non-conference run this year. I mean, losing at home to Longwood, Illinois State, Middle Tennessee, Arkansas State, Vermont. Going to High Point and losing. It was pretty bad non-conference wise for UAB, but they've really responded in a great way, and that's in part to Yaxel Lendenborg, who's averaging 17.5 points a game for the Blazers. This is a guy who put up 22 in the Charlotte victory, 28 in the Tulsa game, 24 in the win over UTSA. They also get Christian Coleman, who averages 11.5. Alejandro Vasquez averages 11, and Ephraim Johnson averaging 10 as well. The Blazers can score, and this is where I'm a little bit concerned for the Mean Green, and obviously that's why we're taking UAB. I don't know if they're able to keep up. Yeah, UAB plays decent defense, but they get into a lot of close games, at least recently they have. They've gotten to close games against teams that they're obviously better than, and they either escape a low-scoring affair or they can't, again, get out their own way, and they can't make shots at the end of the game. North Texas, again, led by Aiden Wright, who's averaging 13.5 a game, or 14 a game. Brennan Laurent averaging 12.5. Those are only, 10-plus points per game scorers a night. I'm not that big on North Texas right now, especially with that loss at home to UTSA. It's a bad loss. Again, same type of deal we just mentioned with Iowa State and Kansas. We're playing off momentum right now, and on top of that, we're taking a team at home. Just like how we took Kansas to win at home against Iowa State, we're taking UAB at home against North Texas. Again, same situation. I think those teams are super close. Kansas, Iowa State, North Texas, UAB. But North Texas just lost 2 days ago. Now they got to pick it up, go on the road against UAB, who won 2 days ago. Yeah, I like UAB in this spot. UAB's been home the entire time. North Texas got to come over to Birmingham, Alabama for this basketball game. And unlike the Kansas-Iowa State spot, UAB played a super competitive game against North Texas on the road to kick off American play this year, only losing the game by 3 points against North Texas in a game where UAB completely blew it. They were up huge in that game. They were up 48-31 at the end of the first half, but they end up getting outscored by 20 in the second half, eventually, again, propelling the Mean Green to victory. So as long as UAB doesn't have another horrible collapse, I honestly think they're fine in this spot. And on top of that, again, the Blazers get this one at home. I like this spot a lot for UAB. They've been the better team recently, and they have been the better scoring team. And again, as much as, the Dallas Mavericks want to tell you defense wins championships, well, offense wins you regular season basketball games. So the name of the game is to score more points than your opponent. So give me the UAB Blazers to win this game at home. They are 1.5 point favorites. Take the money line, take the spread. Give me UAB at home to win and cover against the North Texas Mean Green. Finishing out the video, we go to the Big Sky Conference, a conference we don't go, too in-depth into at times, but here we go. We're going to go to Ogden, Utah for Weber State taking on the Lumberjacks of Northern Arizona. I'm taking NAU here. Yes, we're taking Northern Arizona in a battle between, two lowly Big Sky teams. But here's the thing about NAU. I think they've underperformed a little bit in Big Sky play. Don't the record fool you, though. I mean, they've played just a lot of just bad D2 and NIAAs to start the year. So their record's a little bit boosted at 13-9. But this is more Weber State's been just bad, because Weber State hasn't won a home game all year long. In Big Sky play, their last home win comes back, obviously, non-conference schedule-wise, where they, excuse me, I thought the Pepperdine victory was actually at Weber State. That was a conference game. Weber State hasn't won a game in Ogden, Utah all year long. You telling me they're getting their first tonight? Don't think so. They have not won a home game all year. Their only victories, on the road, they had 2 neutral site wins over Pepperdine and Bowling Green, but their other 2 victories are in Big Sky play, where they went to Sacramento State and won at the Nest, but Sac State, not very good. There's a reason we haven't talked about the Hornets all year long, and then a road win against the Idaho State Bengals. I believe Idaho State is, yes, the Bengals. They're playing today as well. I'm staying away from their spot against Northern Colorado. I was gonna take Northern Colorado, but then I thought better of it. I'm just gonna completely stay away from that game. For Northern Arizona, They've won 2 out of their last 3 back-to-back wins on the road against Eastern Washington and Idaho, and ultimately that's kind of the reason why we're taking them here. Northern Arizona has shown the capability of winning games on the road this season in Big Sky play. It's very confusing, honestly, the way that the Big Sky made their schedule. Why is Northern Arizona playing their 4th consecutive road game? How does this work? They start Big Sky play. They have 2 home games against Idaho State, and they beat Weber State the first time around by 3. They go to Montana to play both Montana State and Montana, lose both those. Home games against Sac State and Portland State, but then 4 straight road games against East Washington, Idaho, Northern Colorado, and Weber State. How does that make sense? Who made this schedule? And they have back-to-back home spots against both the Bobcats and the Grizzlies, obviously, of Montana and Montana State, respectively. But Northern Arizona's won on the road this season. They've done it time in and time out. And they've also beat Weber State this year as well. I get it was a competitive basketball game, but Northern Arizona won it. And Northern Arizona has the best scorer on the court. I think so. There's 2 very good scorers in both these teams. We'll get to Weber State's guy, but Trent McLaughlin, I think, is by far the best scorer in this game. McLaughlin's a guy who averages 21 points a game for NAU. And they also got Carson Tout as well. Tout is a guy who's going to give you 14 points a game, 13 boards a game. And this is what I'm saying. I feel like Northern Arizona has underperformed a little bit. I get these numbers are a little inflated because of their D2 and NIAA very cupcake schedule at the beginning of the season. But McLaughlin has still been able to score in Big Sky play. He doesn't really come out the game. He's going to play anywhere from 37 to 39 to potentially 40 minutes a night. But this is a guy who's going to give you 20. Carson Tout's a guy who's going to be all over the glass. This is a guy who's been, getting closer and closer to 20 rebounds pretty much in every single game he's played. Hell, look at 3 of his last 4. He's put up 18 or 19 boards in all of those games, and he's been giving you double-doubles every single night. Again, getting to about that 14 to 15 point mark daily or nightly. I like Tout and McLaughlin a lot. For Weber State, they're led by Blaze Threat, a guy who's going to be averaging 17.5 for Weber State. Yes, he's the best scorer on this team. He is, again, he's going to shoot it a lot. He's going to get the ball in his hands in big moments. But once we get past him, I don't think Weber State's got a guy, at least down low, that can compete with Carson Tout, or at least beat Carson Tout. For Weber State, they have a guy by the name of Velise Vucinic, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, from Monteguero, who is their center. He's 6'11". The thing is, he came out of their last game on January 30th against University of Idaho with an injury in 3 minutes. So I don't think he's playing this game. So that's another thing. Who's going to be down low for Weber State in this game? You get past Vucinic, it's probably Dyson Kohler, who's 6'7", who's really a small forward. So no, he's not going to play down low. It's their backup center I think they're going to have to go to, and Alex 2, the senior out of Cheshire, England, who on average puts up 16 minutes a night and, puts up 4 points a game and grabs 3 boards. This is a guy who's played at Weber State all 4 years, again, the senior from England, but he's going to be put in a huge spot against Carson Tout as long, again, as Vucinic doesn't play this game. And I don't think 2 coming off the bench, playing 15 to potentially 30 in this spot, doubling his minutes, is going to be able to shut down one of Northern Arizona's best players here in Carson Tout. So I think, again, I know NAU's on the road, but they beat Weber State in their first matchup, and potentially with Vucinic, Weber State starting center out. I like the Lumberjacks of Northern Arizona to go on the road to Weber State, to Ogden, Utah, and win in a spot that Weber State hasn't won in all season long. So if NAU is able to go on the road and beat the Wildcats here, they would have beat Weber State more times in their own building than Weber State has gotten wins in the entire season against Division I basketball teams. So give me the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks, Trent McLaughlin, Carson Tout, and the guys to go on the road and pick up a big victory here in Big Sky play over the Weber State Wildcats. So folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on Monday, February 3rd. If you have not yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video, and make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets, and make sure to join us in a couple hours here on the channel for our daily NBA predictions as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba